Giovanni Boccaccio. Giovanni Boccaccio was born in 1313 in Florence, Italy. His father was a wealthy merchant, but not much is known about his mother. What we do know is that his mother was believed to have been said a midwife. Boccaccio had an interest in writing and literacy early on, but his father did not approve. His father wanted him to be a businessman like he was. Due to this, his father brought him to Naples to learn about business in hopes to persuade him to follow in his footsteps. After his time in Naples, he would become an influential poet and scholar. Education. Due to being the child of a wealthy, influential figure, he was able to receive a good education, which was not guaranteed at this time. His father hired a private tutor to teach him the fundamental teachings, which included, but not limited to, grammar, rhetoric, and dialect for English. And for math, he was taught arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. His father also ensured that he was taught business and law to encourage him to go into this field, which was his father's main goal. Naples. His father was the head of the Bardi Bank and worked with King Robert d'Anjou, which this enabled Giovanni to live a lucrative lifestyle in Naples. So Giovanni was able to have a nicer time in Naples than some would be able to just because his father was in a higher position. During this time in Naples, Giovanni worked as an apprentice at his father's office, which gave him experience in business, and he was also able to get some experience in law when he worked with the aristocracy within the city, specifically the Angevin court. His time in Naples allowed him to perfect his education and literacy, and scholars do note that this time was extremely influential in his life. And it's also said that Giovanni enjoyed this time, even though he wasn't being able to focus on reading and writing and stuff like that. New beginnings. So after his time in Naples, his family moved, and with this move, he was able to join the Circle of Learned Men, which influenced his life in the direction of literature instead of business. Very important step in his life. During his time in this group, he was able to read and learn more about literature works, which helped to push him in that direction. And on the right, you can see his first work, which was Diana's Hunt. That's it translated in English. And this was just a short poetical piece, kind of dipping his toes in the water. And after this, he really took off, and some of his following pieces were The Love Struck, The Love Affiliated, and The Book of Theseus. Spotlight, The Decameron. The Decameron is arguably Boccaccio's most known piece. This piece was a 100-page composition written about the story of 10 people who were fleeing the Black Death in Italy. He goes into depth on the daily life of people living in Florence. Throughout this piece, he does a great job of painting a picture of how horrible life was in this time. This composition allows for historians to learn about this time. And as we learned in art class, this was definitely not a time you'd want to be alive. And Boccaccio does a really good job of portraying that within his pages. And on the right, there's an illustration of a scene that was depicted from the Decameron. Late years. After continuing a successful career as a poet, he retired to the town of Certaldo. He struggled with his health in his late years, specifically his weight. During the last few years of his life, he worked on pieces dedicated to his lifelong friend Francesco Petrarca. Giovanni Boccaccio would pass away on December 21st, 1375. Why is he important, and why should you care? Boccaccio is an important figure due to his literature that he produced during his lifespan. His work, The Decameron, allows for an in-depth understanding of life during the plague. He was an early believer in humanistic ideas and influenced the spread of it in Florence. This is also something we learned in our class. His works also influenced European literature during the Renaissance. So many people that came after his time were able to read his works, and this influenced the way they would write and, in general, just the literature that was produced in Europe. Thank you.